for some people listening, their fun might be something different. What advice would you have for them to chase doing what they get the most joy out of?
Man, constantly be pursuing your goals, your dreams, and your purpose. Straight up, always be fighting for that. When I talked to Ed, he said an acronym, CANI, C-A-N-I, constant and never-ending improvement. And when he told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to always be improving in whatever it is that I'm passionate about, whatever it is that I'm chasing. I want to always be improving.
What is up, everybody? It's me, Sean French, back with another bombshell of an episode, The Determined Society. Before I get to the introduction of my guest, I want you guys to take a moment, follow the show, subscribe, whatever the hell it is, leave a review, and submit a comment. I want to hear what you have to say about the show. And my only other ask is that you share this show out to your socials and tag me and my amazing guests today. If you got anything out of it, even if you think we're a bunch of tools, share it out. We don't care. We just want to hear some feedback. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce a really new friend of mine. And I can actually see myself doing a lot of things with this individual because of his story. Imagine being a young man at 14 years old and having to raise himself. I mean, what kind of voids does a young boy need to fill at that age? And what I found is a lot of times, and especially in my guest case, you fill those voids with some bad activity and possibly go down the wrong road. And that's okay because America loves stories of redemption. And I want him to tell his story of redemption so you can hear it first and foremost here on the Determined Society podcast. So without further ado, Erik Allen, what's up, baby?
Man, thank you so much for just having me on your show, dude. Such an honor to be here, Sean, and absolutely an honor to call you friend, man, and looking forward to working with you further, man.
Oh, bro. I mean, hey, the feeling is more than mutual. You know, that's the cool thing about the social media thing, excuse me, is that, goodness, sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on with my voice this morning. But, you know, you get to meet so many cool people if you choose to really open up and find the light in social media. And you're one of those bright, shining lights. And, you know, we met through a mutual friend. And just for the moment, like, I'm like, hey, bro, you're like, let's connect. And then I get this amazing video message from you. I'm like, oh, dude, this is my guy. This is my dude. So, again, honor's all mine.
Come on, man.
So you got an interesting background, dude.
A little bit.
Like, well, I mean, like, let's get into it, right? Because, you know, there's a lot of things, and it's so funny because if you look at all the greats, they usually have some type of story. Sometimes it starts with jail. You know, I'm not going to lie. I may have spent an evening at one point. Okay. But you know what, man? Here's the thing. I feel that those stories are ones of stories of redemption, and America just loves those stories. So why don't you take the listeners briefly through your background and kind of how I introduced you and what it means?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I grew up in a typical household is what I thought. You know, played Little League, went to Sunday school. My dad would literally take my best friend Dave and I and throw us in dumpsters behind stores when I was a kid and say, go find treasure. And that was like a typical Saturday morning, like for me and my buddy Dave. Dave is still my best friend today, you know, 6 years later, man. And so he just laughs at that. But, you know, when I was 11 years old, my parents got a divorce. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anyone who had gotten divorced, didn't even understand what that word was. And so it was a shock to my system because my mom immediately gets together with this guy who's very physically abusive. I mean, I watched her get the snot kicked out of her, man, hitting her in the head with a cordless phone when those were a thing, you know, and here I am in the middle of my 6th grade year, something like that. And watching this all go down, I'd call the police, they'd show up. My mom wouldn't press charges. It would just happen over and over and over again. So
it's a cycle.
Totally. Yeah. And, you know, so they did the smart thing. My mom got pregnant. And then, you know, I grew up in Eastern Washington State, and they decided to move us to Stevensville, Montana. So small town, Bitterroot River, 1,200 people in that town. And the property they moved to had this 5 acres, beautiful pond on there. And the house they moved into had 3 bedrooms. There's one for them, one for my little brother, who's a couple months older at this time, and then one for my sister, who's 4 years younger than me. And they said, Erik, you get to live in the garage. So I literally had a plastic tarp down the middle of the garage, and my bed.
Wait, how old were you?
We moved up there when I was 12. So yeah, so I was basically out in the garage at that point, I think. And so it was the middle of my 8th grade year. So maybe I was maybe I was 13, 12, 13, somewhere in there, but had plastic tarp down the middle. My bedroom was on the one side of the garage. Luckily, my half had a fireplace on it, so it'd keep me semi-warm through the middle of the winters of Montana. Yeah. But, the abuse continued, man. And it was even more so up there because we were further away from police where we were at. We were actually off a highway, so we weren't in the town. And so I remember there was a night when I was brushing my teeth. They came home arguing one night. Nothing was different. It was like, craziness. I'm brushing my teeth and I felt God in that moment. They go, man, you got to look around. You got to turn around. And so as I turn around down the hall, it's the pantry to the garage door where my room is at. And I see this dickhead on top of my mom. Boom, boom, boom. And I was like, dude, I got to stop this guy. So I walked up behind him. I grabbed a cast iron pan and I swung as hard as I could and I split the back of his head open.
Love you.
He turned around and he's like, what? Then he did that. And I took another swing and I split his forehead open. And, here's the thing is I did that. He's bleeding all over. I'm thinking I'm the hero. The cops finally show up, take him to jail. The next day, my mom starts putting plans together and I basically was kicked out of the house at that point.
Because of what you did.
Yeah. I had 3 months left in my freshman year of high school. So I went and lived with my buddy Forrest. He lived with his dad and I slept on hardwood floors to finish out my 8th grade year and then moved back to live with my dad in Washington State. That incident basically put me on a path of destruction for the next 10 years, man. So, my dad, he rented a house for him and I. He'd go stay with his girlfriend. I'd see my dad in passing a couple times a month. He'd put $20 in a cup for my lunch money and put Hunger Man meals in the freezer and cereal and milk in the house, right? And so got into drugs and drinking and, partying really early on. 18 years old, senior in high school, got arrested for having a bong, which is funny now because it's now legal in the state of Washington. But in 1998, when I was a senior, it was illegal. And man, so then 2 weeks after I graduated, my dad kicked me out. I woke up to a Post-it note on the bathroom mirror that said, you can't comply with house rules. You have 48 hours to get out. So between ages 18 and 21, I moved 21 times, lived off credit cards and ended up making a move to Seattle. And by the time I was 21, I was $28,000 in debt and had to file bankruptcy, man. And man, it just got crazy from there.
Dude, I have like chills. Okay. And here's why. And this is what, for the people that are listening to the show, I love these interviews and I love connecting with people like you, Erik, because everyone has a story. And all too often we sit there and we walk around our daily lives and think we're so much different than everybody else walking around. Like nobody has it worse than us. Everybody, that person's lucky. People may look at you and be like, oh, you've had all these amazing guests on your podcast. That's a lucky motherfucker. But what they don't understand is everything that went on in your childhood built the man that you are right now in order to put you in places, not just to be an amazing husband and father, first and foremost, right? But also an amazing entrepreneur, podcast host, and coach. So my point of this rant is for everybody listening, everybody has a story. And it is your job on a daily basis to seek those stories out so you can understand people better. Now that I've heard Erik's story in almost completion, and I'm sure that's the Reader's Digest version, it automatically tells me why you're as successful as you are.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
God dang, man, that is a powerful story.
Yeah, it was pretty wild for sure, man. It pretty wild. And, making that move up to Seattle was pretty insane. But, I always wanted to get in the music business. Don't know how to play anything, but I just wanted to be in the back of it, right? Like I was like, I just want to be in the music business. So, I ended up landing a job with Universal Records and literally showed up for 6 months, didn't get paid every single day, just showing up, just stuffing posters and things like that. And then I ended up getting hired on. The problem was living up my dream of being in the music business, but I was living a rockstar lifestyle. So I was at 2 to 3 concerts a week, open tab, craziness. I was living that rockstar lifestyle. My 1 year anniversary, I got laid off. This was during the days of Napster.
Oh
So back in the day, man. And I was a guy on the bottom of the totem pole. So, got laid off working at night at Starbucks one time. And I was a night manager at Starbucks after that. And a girl walked in who doesn't drink coffee. And she said, hey man, we've got this cool college age event down at our church. Would you be interested in going? I'm depressed. I have no friends. I'm basically an addict at that point to drugs and alcohol. And I'm like, man, she's good looking. What time do I need to be there? Right. Yeah. And so I go, yeah, what time do I need to be there? So I show up and I end up running into these guys that I knew from 5-6 years earlier. I was like, dude, what are you doing here, man? And I'm clear on the other side of the state from where I grew up.
Yeah.
And so I think in that moment, God started to plant a seed, and it was a month later, it was Easter 2004. I went out and I partied with this band I was managing. I woke up Easter morning, my buddy's basement, surrounded by probably 15 other dudes. And I felt in that moment that God was like, dude, you're going down this path that's going to end your life real quick. And so I decided in that moment that I gave my life to Christ right there and then, man. And I quit cold turkey, drugs, drinking, cigarettes, everything in that moment. And I called that girl up. I got her voicemail. I said, hey, happy Easter. Thanks for inviting me to that church event. Maybe I'll see you at the store sometime. Well, a month later, we were dating, and now we've been married for almost 18 years.
No way.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Dude, mic drop minute 9:57. Good Lord. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Dude, you don't hear stories like that very often anymore, man.
Yeah, pretty cool, man. And we're actually both born at exactly 1:41 p.m. on our birth certificates. Different days, different years, but the exact same minute.
Dude, that's insane. It's so funny because everybody talks about, and we've heard a mutual contact talk about, a man needs a woman to, like a scenario, like someone to save, and, or they get depressed, right? I think it's both, right? I think, there's, especially in my experience, right? So when I met my wife, I was at the very lowest of the low. Like I couldn't pay my truck payment, couldn't do anything, I was going through a transition in my life, and I was just busted, bro. And this beautiful Latina woman showed interest in me, and I don't know why at that point. I truly don't, and I take it for granted every day because I'm an idiot. And we start talking and dating, and she's my best friend and my wife now. And without her, like literally everything that I have is impossible. Because she has given me that added confidence that I wasn't raised with. I was always raised with, you're too fat, your ears are too big, your teeth are fucking stupid, you're slow, you can't play. If you don't play in the major leagues, you're never going to be anything in your life. So that reserve, that confidence, is something that I have to work for every single day, just like everybody else. Totally. But there's also a depletion of it in some way. And she has given me that. And through that, she's taught me how to be a better sales professional. She's taught me how to be a better father. I still have a lot of work to do in all those areas, especially being an amazing husband. But dude, it's like, hearing that story, and I love it because it's just like, I wanted to draw that parallel to like, hey, men need women. Yeah. Women need men. And that's for those of you listening that don't agree with that philosophy, and you like, hey, bro, I got you. I'm on your, whatever you choose in your life, fine. But for me, in my experiences, I needed her just as much as she needed me. Yeah. Yeah. And your wife did the same thing for you. That's so incredible.
Yeah, it was a cool story, man. She came from a broken home as well. So we kind of just connected. We knew exactly what we didn't want in marriage, but we also didn't get taught how to have a good marriage. So we spent the first 5 years just getting to know each other and going through some of the yuck, and things like that. And being married for almost 18 years, not every day or every year is rainbows and sunshine, man. Yeah. Like you said, we have to, as men, constantly be working on getting better as a husband, getting better as a father. And man, really have to be pursuing our wife on a daily basis, man. And so that's what I think has helped us, at least, in our marriage. We decided that when we said I do, like we meant it. And so we're breaking the chains of divorce, addiction, rejection, abuse that came from both of our sides of our family. And, we look at our parents, both of our parents have been married and divorced 6+ times. And we're like, nope, that's not happening. It's stopping right here. There's going to be no more divorce in the Allen tribe moving forward. We are putting our foot down, and it's not happening.
It's very interesting because you're talking about modeling behavior, right? Modeling, good relationships. I didn't have that either. Yeah. My biological father, just like your stepdad, beat the living piss out of my mom. I was 2 apparently. My mom was in the hospital in the intensive care unit. Of course, I don't know because I don't remember it, sure. But I only remember being around my biological father maybe 3 times. And each time was like this weird feeling, right? Or, saying nasty things about women, like, oh, using the P word in front of a 6-year-old, like, bro, like, what are you thinking? Right. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew it was nasty and bad. And then I remember just being held down because of these these things on my nose, and like there used to be 2 or 3 of them, and he would hold me down and just pinch and just pop them. And to this day, I cannot stand when my face is touched.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It triggers me to a point where I want to punch you, and it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
And I'll repeat, it does not matter who you are. I want to fight you.
Yeah.
Like, because it brings that back. But so then she, got married to this dickhead named Dominic who broke her arm. Right. I saw that. Okay. And then married my stepfather, who ended up being, the father figure in my life from 10 years on. We don't have a relationship anymore because, he's narcissistic, and, I have a lot of issues with men. Put it to you that way.
Sure.
Right. So like, just to hear all that and just to see how similar our backgrounds are, I didn't have that modeling behavior either. Right. Yeah. I had, if you disagreed, you yell and scream. Mm-hmm. The only way to live and be comfortable in your day-to-day life was either to scream, to disagree, and win the fucking argument.
Yeah.
So it's something I battle, man.
Yeah, that's tough for us. Like, I mean, even throughout, my kids are 9 and 12. So they've seen my wife and I argue. They've seen us get into heated discussions. Here's the cool thing, though, is we've told them since day one, they'll never see us get a divorce. And mm-hmm. like, they see the real us. They see us disagree. They see us fight. They see us argue, but they also see us make up. They see us slow dancing in the kitchen. They see us kissing in the kitchen, right? Mm-hmm. And then they go, ooh, right. But they know that this is a safe spot. We've made a decision. We're not getting a divorce. We're going to work throughout whatever we got going on. We're going to work it out, and we're going to move on. And so I love that we've been able to do that with our kids, and they see that, and then they see us make up, and they're like, man, yep, mom and dad, they're not going anywhere.
I love it, dude. I love it. And that's a cool thing, because again, for the listeners, I want them to really take this into account, is, how your children are benefiting is not just from a safe environment now, but they're going to be able to create that safe environment for their future children. And that's what the importance is, because if we don't change, if we don't break the cycle, just like you said, you're breaking the Allen cycle or whatever, the cycle of divorce. Yeah. Like, dude, like that shit continues, mm-hmm. right? Your kids are going to do what you do, because that's how they learn, and that's how they wire their brain, their limbic system, everything. Right. It's just natural. One thing I want to cover, one more thing, and then I want to move on to what you're doing now. And,
come on.
Because you're doing some amazing things, and, I definitely want to highlight that. You mentioned, constantly pursuing your wife every day. I agree with that. It's really, really difficult though, because, you get, things involved, you get, work stress, side hustle stress, podcast stress, right? Client stress. The algorithm on Instagram stress. That's a joke, but it's fucking true. But I also feel it's equally as important as your wife to pursue you.
Yep. Totally.
And I think what happens is, in my marriage, if I feel like, my wife's not pursuing me, like I'm fucking, pride, like, hey, okay, stand off,
right.
But the thing is like, I'm always going to lose that battle, because I cherish my woman. Right. Yeah. So it's like, but like, I think that happens on both ends. And I truly feel it's important, for, whether you're married or in a long, committed relationship, or in a new relationship that you love so much, man, just do your part.
Yeah. I agree, man. So we started kind of implementing this thing, a while back, but we call it the 5 or 5. And basically, when I get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm going to try to shut everything down. So I put my phone away. My family time is very important to me. So after 5 o'clock, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to respond to messages unless I have an opportunity, but I really don't try to bring out my phone during the evening. Mm-hmm. But when I get off work, I know she's had a long day because she's at home with the kids, or, she's volunteering at their school or running errands and things like that. But I take 5 minutes, 5 for 5. So within 5 feet. So I'm up close within that 5-foot circle of her, and we just take 5 minutes just to unload, man. Like, how was your day? Like, what are we doing? Like, no kids, just her and I talking about the day. Like, that's a daily thing that we have to do. It allows us to have that moment to kind of let stuff out, to, talk about things that happen throughout the day. Cause obviously I'm working, she's running around and doing things. It's really helped in that. Now, she also, like you said, she has to pursue me. And so we make that conversation. I actually bought a journal, a hardcover journal, and I have it in the bathroom. And every morning when I get up, before I leave the bathroom, I write a message in that book for her. I dated it every single day, the entire year. I'm writing, hey, babe, man, you're awesome. Thank you for amazing dinner last night. Thank you for, helping our kids with their homework. Every single day I write a message in that, and I close it, and then I put it in. So she sees that every single day. Now, the benefit of that is also from a man's perspective. My wife, she knows what my triggers are for love, right? So she's like, yep, she'll get close to me. She also, does a daily flash, right? So I love that, right? Like, I'm like, hey, now, right? So like, girl. bring it, right? Make it fun, man.
Do this shit in the Mardi Gras.
Right. Totally, dude. So like, I know that if I'm pursuing her, guess what? I'm going to get that daily flash, right? And so that's exciting for me. Like, we make it fun, and you have to really do that if you want to make your marriage successful, man.
Dude, it's so funny. I just want to acknowledge this interview, like in the middle of it. Like, I was already excited about this interview. I'm excited about all interviews. I'm not going to lie, because it's an opportunity to get to know somebody a little bit better.
Totally.
But like, dude, this is fucking amazing. Like, this is some great stuff for the audience to apply to their life in real life, right? We haven't even gotten to business or anything like that, of what you're doing. But, this is a very impactful conversation. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. We've had previous conversations, on your show that's, incredible. So I'm loving this, man. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, man. So dude, like, you're dynamic, brother. Okay. You have, Erik Allen Media, whether it's helping somebody create a podcast, whether it's doing cool videos for entrepreneurs, tell the audience, cause there's a lot of people listening that may, need your services. So,
yeah.
Tell everybody what you do and how you came about it.
Yeah, you know what? It started with Top Rated MA. It was an apparel company I had in 2012. It ended up failing. And then I started a podcast because I didn't want to give up the name in 2017. I had no idea what I was doing when I was podcasting, right? I just wanted to interview MMA fighters and ask them why they want to get punched in the face. That was literally the only thing that I thought of.
That's dope.
Right? And so I was in a walk-in closet for almost my first 100 episodes of recording. Bad lighting, bad microphone, didn't do any editing. And someone says, well, how can I listen to it on Apple? And I said, what the hell is that? I didn't even know what Apple was, man. And so I started researching and getting better and going, how can I make this thing better? And so 2018, come across Ed Milet online. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's beliefs, values, everything I'm aligning. Roll up, a couple months down the road, I end up winning the Ed Milet Max Out Community Challenge that he issued to his 1 million followers by submitting a 1-minute video and tagging him. I won a phone call with Ed, changed my life forever. It was because of Ed that I started my other podcast. It used to be called The Bearded Biz. I had a big long beard at the time, but I changed the name to The Erik Allen Show because my wife's smarter and she said, hey, you should probably change that name. So, anyway, so that opportunity with Ed really opened the door for me to have massive conversations with so many other people. So prior to Ed, I had Sean Whelan on my show, and then it was Ed, and then it was Tim Story, and Bedros Keuilian, and Brad Lee, Jim the Ricky Morris, Dan Caldwell. Just name a few of the people that have been on the show. They have all changed my life in some way just by dropping nuggets. And so I interview those guys, man. Erik Allen Media is about the podcast. It's about me doing videos for brands. So I've worked with 50 brands, 50 plus brands on doing how-to videos, explainer videos, box opening videos. I love doing that stuff. And so I just be able to do that. And sometimes it's from vitamin water to, weird, crazy bouncy balls in the backyard with the kids, right? So I'm all over the place, but I also do some audio narration. So video or audio books. I've done that. I'm writing a book right now, my own story. And and then podcasting. Yeah, I coach people on how to podcast. How do you get started? What do you need to do? So I take the 7 years or 5 years that I've been podcasting and say, hey, let's crunch this into an hour or 2 hours. And let me help you get started. Where to host it, how to promote it, how to get ranked in reviews, how to lock in those big names. And then through my course, the video version allows them to do it self-paced, but they also get a 30-minute strategy call with me. Or they can just do a live coaching. So I offer both. And then, yeah, man, that's where we're at right now, is just continuing to pursue that and work with brands on a sponsorship for the show. And Yeah. I'm fired up because I love podcasts. I love like talking and having these conversations, man. So I'm all over the place.
It's funny because this is like, honestly, like, and I feel like someone's going to kick me in the nuts for saying this, but this is my favorite thing that I do.
Yeah.
Totally. I love coaching people. Like, listen, like, dude, like, as you know, I love coaching sales professionals. I love helping them change their life. That's the funnest part. Like someone's like, hey, I only make 80 grand a year and like, I can't afford this for my wife. We need to go on a vacation. We haven't done it in years. Like, well, what if I help you make 160? Can you go do that? And then getting that video or that call of them crying because they just booked their flight because they are making the money that they can. Right.
Come on. Yeah.
And, so just really getting people to discover what they have inside of them already and just executing those habits consistently, even when they don't want to. Yep. But more than that, the podcast. This is my baby. For so many years, I wanted to do a podcast and I overcomplicated it. And to your point, like you used to do it in a closet with bad lighting, no fucking microphone. Like, brother, you and I we're like twinning bad. I know it's probably a 16-year-old girl thing to say, but we are twinning hard, bro.
I'll twin with you.
Dude, because dude, you know where my podcast started?
Where? Oh, in your car?
In my car.
Dude, shut up. That's awesome. I remember that.
Right. I told you about that on your show. Like, dude, like literally, I downloaded Anchor. I just searched YouTube. I'm done with this. I need to start a podcast. Yeah. And, Andy Frisella inspired me. I listened to him way back, to MF CEO. So I'm an OG, Andy. You're probably not listening, but come on, where's the love?
Yeah,
for real, seriously. But, the thing is like, I didn't know how to do it. And there's so many people out there that don't know how to do it. Right. Yeah. And so I did it on my own. Right. And you did it on your own. And now you can help individuals, do that. Right. And I think there's huge value in that because if somebody is listening right now that wants to start a podcast that has a cheat, they can go, I don't want to say cheat code, but kind of like shorten the process of frustration. Yeah. I think it's valuable. I know it's valuable. Right.
Yeah, totally.
Because I'm about to launch something like that myself, but it's like one thing at a time. Right. It's like, so many programs are going to get diluted here. But dude, it's like, to echo what you're saying, the joy that I get from my podcast is ridiculous, like, and you mentioned sponsorships. Talk to me a little bit about that. Talk to the audience. Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So I didn't want to fill my show up with just a bunch of ads, but I also need to be able to support my show. Yeah. And so I find brands that have similar interests, values, beliefs as myself. I'll either reach out to them. Instagram DM is the key, I think, for anything, booking guests or sponsorships, but at least starting conversations. But so sponsorships, for me, it can be collaborative. It can be like, hey, I'll hook you up with this product and we'll do this swap. One of my main sponsors is a local massage place out here where I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And the lady hooks my wife and I up with a free couples massage every single month. And it's fantastic. And so I'm like, dude, I will do a swap. She started actually with $100 sponsorship way back in the day when I was only charging $100. But then she was like, hey, let's just do a swap. And I was like, heck yeah, dude. My wife's like, finally, after 5 years of you podcasting, I get to benefit from one of your sponsors, right? So it's like, but yeah, I mean, sometimes you can work out things where you're just doing a trade. Sometimes it's monetization. Here's the thing that podcasters get hung up on, though. They think that they have to have so many downloads and so many listeners to be able to get a sponsorship. And it's absolutely not true. I have never looked at I didn't even look at my numbers until last year, or I just don't. I don't pay attention to the number of downloads because I do podcasting because I love it and I'm passionate about it. I could care less if it's one person or 5,000 listen to the show. But when I would talk with sponsors, I never talk to them about numbers. That's not the value that I'm bringing. What I'm bringing them is top-notch professional sponsorship mentions, and I post out to my social media, and I do a lot for my sponsors, and I make sure that they feel that love in every single show, and they get a shout out during the week and just random shout outs. Like, that's the value that I'm bringing. Look, not many people can say they had Ed Milet and Sean Whalen or Bedros Keuilian on their show. So I can say, look, I've brought these guys to my show. I'll guarantee that my guests are going to be as big or bigger in that area. So let's put your name out there. And so that's how I approach sponsorships. And man, it helps monetization, my show. When I started my podcasting, I told my wife, I will not take any money from my salary and put it into podcasting. 100% of the money I put into my show is made from my show. And so that's just something that I've been able to do. But yeah, if you're a podcaster, man, sponsorships help. And the best way to do that is just reach out via Instagram DM and say, hey, are you open to a conversation about having a sponsorship or sponsoring my podcast?
You know, I that's something I need to get better at. I'm not going to lie. Like it's just so funny because I feel like people, nowadays have to puff their chest up and, act like they can have their shit together. Right. That is the thing that I struggle with. I don't have any sponsors right now. So my podcast is funded by what I make in my business. And so, if you hit a lull, it gets a little dicey, right? Because dude, like I put a show out every single week.
Yep.
And I'm not going to stop that, right? Because it's consistency. And, if you've watched my show or listened to my show, there's production value there. There's nice music, there's, editing, there's a lot of different things that go into it that I'm not doing that I got to pay somebody for, because I'm not going to sit there and do all that because I'm not that guy. But man, it just, I'll screw it up. I'll screw something up big time. But I just love hearing this, man, because, you have such an offering for people that can relate to. And, with your personality, dude, I know it's just freaking taking off, dude. So it's awesome.
Well, thank you so much. And look, I get it. As a podcaster, you don't have a budget or anything like that. I still, to this day, I do edit all my shows. I do everything myself. But especially when you're starting out, if you don't have a budget, dude, Anchor is free. Like, you can start a podcast in 5 minutes. So I just encourage, go do that. You and I, we both use Riverside. I love Riverside, man. And it's a killer platform, but it costs money. So we have to have sponsorship to help us get that show going. And so that's where sponsorships come into play, man. And it truly does help us out. It's not about like, how much money can I make from it? It's really helping us put the show together so that we can make an impact on the world. That's what I'm most about.
Man. I mean, it's true, right? Riverside's great. I use Zoom before. And and I just realized like, hey, like there's so many more cool things I can do with Riverside. And, so yeah, dude, like it does cost money. And that's what, people don't understand. Like when you throw out production, there's cost involved.
Totally.
But it's like, if you tell me like, I remember when I first started, it was like, I would have some cool guests and then I'd go like 2 weeks without a guest. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, my bank is empty. I've got like 70 shows recorded.
Come on.
Some of them, I can be honest, like some of them didn't show up with equipment that's, operable. So I can't release it. It is what it is. Sure. Right. But like to have that opportunity, just know that like every week I'm going to interview at least 5 amazing people. And now I don't want to say easy, right? It's constant. So I get to do something I love, 5 times minimum a week. Yeah. And, so I want you to touch on that a little bit because we talk about how this is our favorite thing. Yeah. And for some people listening, their fun might be something different. Mm-hmm. What advice would you have for them to chase doing what they get the most joy out of?
Man, constantly be pursuing your goals, your dreams, and your purpose. Straight up, always be fighting for that. When I talked to Ed, he said an acronym, CANI, CANI, constant and never ending improvement. And when he told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to always be improving in whatever it is that I'm passionate about, whatever it is that I'm chasing. I want to always be improving. Here I am 5.5 years into podcasting. I still watch podcasts and YouTube videos on how to be a better podcaster. How can I talk with my guests better? Still to this day, I need to always be leveling up. So whatever it is that you're passionate about, maybe it's building Legos, maybe it's being a cook, whatever, like find that and start pursuing relentlessly how to be better at it every single day. You cannot let up. And, with podcasting, we have to be consistent. When I started, it was like here, release one there, right? But if you want to be successful in podcast, set a date, set a time, release it at that same time every single week or whatever day it is. You have to be consistent. I think I read a statistic that said 90% of podcasts never make it to episode 50. And then after the 50th, 90% of those don't make it to episode 100. Listen, you have to just stay consistent if you want to be successful in podcasting.
I just love it, man. You like Uncle Ed, man's always dropping the heat on people.
Totally,
dude. Like, and it's so funny because some people think that social media made that guy, and that guy was a dude before social media came around. Social media just like said, hey, hi, here I am now. This is an avenue where people can learn who I am. Yep. And that's why he's so So I guys loved, revered, and popular, right?
Yeah.
But constant and never ending improvement. If you are not constantly pursuing your craft and getting better, you're dying.
Yep.
Like literally straight up, guys, like, listen, if you love something, or even if it's your job and you don't love it, you can never get to the job or the career that you're going to love and cherish if you're not a badass at what you do right now. And you do that by giving a fuck. You do that by constantly working at your craft and trying to find ways to improve.
Yep.
Professional development, man. Like, bro, if I go back and listen to my first episode, I throw up.
Totally.
Oh, dude, I get so scared when I send my show to somebody. I'll send like a recent episode, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I just listened to the first one. I'm like, oh my God, do you still like me?
Yeah, totally.
It's
so
terrible,
true,
man. God, and I could just hear myself. And I don't know about you. I want to get your input, but I can hear myself trying to be somebody I'm not, trying to force the conversation. Not really knowing how to even introduce a guest. Now I freestyle it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. That's what I'm good at. Like I'm just, I'm going to know some certain details and I'm going to roll it. But I have found by testing over and over again, professional development, right?
Yep.
Of like, okay, what's working for me? What's not? So what's your thoughts on that, man?
Here's a funny story. 2021 or in 2020, I set a goal to be a guest on 20 or 50 podcasts, right? And I only did 25. And I got the end of 2020. I was like, seriously, that's all I could do? I did half the freaking work of my goal. That's stupid. So I got to 2021. I said, I'm going to be a guest on 100 podcasts in 2021. Now, at the time, I was also doing 2 podcasts. I was releasing 2 shows a week. And so my goal, be a guest on 100 podcasts in 2021. I said, we're starting day 1, January 1st. I went on. I ended up finishing that year with 117 guest spots on other people's podcasts, on top of releasing 100 of my own episodes. The reason I did that was because I wanted to get on as many shows I could so that I could understand what other people were doing. I wanted to hear their flow. I wanted to see what equipment they're using, where they're doing it, right? I wanted to know how I can improve. Some podcasts I was on was great. Some were like, what the hell am I doing on this show? Like it was wild, but it was a learning experience either way. So I was trying to constantly improving, part of one of those 117, I was able to fly down to Vegas and be a guest on Bradley's Dropping Bombs. That was the coolest freaking show I've ever been on. Now, Brad's a great dude and he was a guest on my show. And I was telling him I was on this journey. He's like, dude, fly to Vegas. I was like, boom, we're done. I lined it up within a week. And, but just if you want to improve, like you said, you got to submerge yourself, man, in your, whatever it is that you're passionate about. And so I do think that personal development for me is learning how to podcast. What questions can I ask? How can I approach my show and my guests better? How can I release my shows better? Right. And so I think whatever it is that people want to pursue, like pursue it so relentlessly, man, that it's like part of you. You have to become obsessed with pursuing your passion, your dreams, and your goals and your purpose, man.
Well said, man. Love it so much. I mean, if you are not truly chasing what you want every single day, just like your sign behind you, goal, dreams, purpose, man. Like we are not living if we do not do that. God did not put us here, right? For those of us on this conversation, you and I, we believe that Jesus Christ is what put us here, right? And I'm not saying that everybody, is forced to believe that. But what I am saying is you better believe in something bigger than you.
Yeah.
And you better believe that you are not alone, and you better believe that you are not here to be mediocre. You are here to thrive. And if you are not thriving, or at least attempting to thrive, then what are you doing?
Yeah. Man,
ask yourself that. It's like a lot of people that get depressed, and again, it's a clinical thing. Like I'm not a psychologist. By the way, I do have a psychology degree, so if anybody wants to come at me with that, I do know a little bit of what I'm talking about. I do not have my PhD, but here's the thing. There is clinical depression. Some people just can't help it, but there are those individuals that don't have that clinical depression that are allowing their circumstances to, cause depression, which stems from not doing anything.
Yeah.
Have you ever in your time in your life just like fell into that depression state because you just weren't living who you are?
Dude, I totally, when I met my wife and I got laid off from Universal Records, I lived in the most ghetto apartment I could ever find, like in Renton, Washington. It's super ghetto area, but I actually lived across the street from where Jimi Hendrix was buried. So it was kind of cool, but it was in the ghetto, but it was gnarly, dude. My wife at the time when we first started dating, she's like, what the heck? Where do you live? Like, this is crazy. It was like International Hall. Like no one spoke English. The couple down the hall, this is going to sound weird, but they were a lesbian couple, but they were both deaf, and they would get into crazy fist fights in the hall outside of my door. It was nutty, dude. So I mean,
too bad there wasn't YouTube then. You'd be viral.
Dude, I'm telling you,
two lesbians fighting.
Dude, it's wild, but man, I'll tell you, I've seen that there, man. And just being in that area where that spot in my life, I didn't know what I was doing. I would I'd get off work, go get a 6-pack of beer, go to Hollywood Video and rent a video and go back to my ghetto apartment and drink myself to sleep. That was my daily. I had no purpose in life. I didn't know what I was doing. And man, once I gave my life to Christ, for me, that was an eye-opening moment. So I had to change my environment. I got away from the party and I found guys that were living the life that I wanted to live. And I surrounded myself with them. I found guys that had great marriages. They had great businesses. They were great walks with Christ. And I just interviewed them at the time before even podcast. I was taking them out to Starbucks and going, dude, tell me how to live your life. What do I need to do to get to what you're doing? And that helped me so much. And then I started implementing my daily win strategy. For me, it's a goal to wake up every day. And when I open my eyes, immediately I go, man, God, thank you for another day to see and hug and hold my family. Right. And then I jump out of bed, I make my bed. There's 2 wins. I'm already stacking my wins in the day. 15 seconds, 2 wins. So I'm already on fire. I'm ready to go, man. Here we go. And I wake up at 4 a.m. 6 days a week. People are like, why the hell do you wake up at 4 a.m.? It's because my desire to be successful is bigger than my desire to sleep. Period.
God, say that again, please.
My desire to be successful is bigger than my desire to sleep. So I get up at 4 a.m. because it allows me to work on personal development. It allows me to work on my passion, my podcast. I still work a full-time job. So once I'm done with that, I go make my kids breakfast and lunch, and then I start my job at 8. I'm not eating into family time, working on myself. So I get up at early. I sacrifice my sleep a little bit, just a little bit, so that I can pursue my passion and my purpose and my dreams and my goals. And then at some point, I'm going to be able to walk away from that full-time job and go, man, I put in the work and here we are. Now, how can I improve and make a bigger impact?
Once again, twinning like a motherfucker.
Come on.
It's I don't believe in taking time away from my family to work on Sean French. Yes. My family is my family. So I also have, a regular career. I'm in sales. I'm in corporate sales. A lot of individuals say, well, oh my God, you're still in 9 to 5. Yeah, bro, because when you hire me, right, to do a job to help you be successful in sales, you need to know I come with receipts. Go to my LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. I'm not just some online guru that said, okay, COVID's here. I got laid off. Let me go take people's money.
Right.
I am the real deal. I do it every day, right, for another company. And I've grown tremendously in that career. And you have too. And I think it's a big difference. Now, again, one day we'll be able to walk away. Probably, yeah. But I'm not ready for that yet. Totally. And I'm okay with that.
Yep.
I learn every single day through conversations I have, from my 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. Luckily I'm able to do my job from home.
Yeah. Totally. Okay.
But you earn that. Right. Yeah. You earn that. You got to be very strategic. You got to be very successful in your career in order to do that. So, bro, I love hearing all these things because it is spot on mindset. Same. If I don't get my work done at 4, I'm not taking time away from my children. I'm going to make those sons of guns breakfast.
Yes.
Today my wife did it because I had a teledoc appointment. Right. And then I had you. Hey, baby, I need you. You're up today.
Yeah.
Hey, no problem. Amazing. And by the way, the kids were very quiet. They did very good during this episode. I'm very, very impressed. I got to buy them a candy bar or some shit.
For sure.
But no, so it's my morning routine is typically once they open 24 hours again, because the hurricane, thanks Hurricane Lynn, my gym still doesn't have internet. So they can't do unmanned or unstaffed hours. So, but typically 4 a.m. up, 4:30 gym, 6 o'clock, I'm home. Make my kids lunch for school, make them breakfast, sit down with them, have coffee, eat breakfast with them. Bro, come on, dude. Better. That's an American dream, dude.
Yeah. Come on.
Like, to have that time with my babies. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because now they're not home. And I mentioned to you this because of the hurricane. They're still not clear to go back to school because of air quality in the schools and, a bunch of stuff like that. Is like, they're home now and I'm in here and I feel guilt sometimes because daddy has, work all the way until, 4 p.m. today. Mm-hmm. And so I struggle with that, dude. Like I want to be with my babies right now. They're upstairs, they're having a good time. Not that I'm not loving the conversation, but you know what I mean? As a dad, totally. It's like, for those that are listening, even myself, how would you suggest releasing that guilt?
Man, it's tough. So I've been working from home since 2015. So the majority of my kids' life, they've only seen me work from home. And so especially on Friday, my kids only go to school Monday through Thursday. So on Friday, they see me go downstairs and I'll get coffee or get breakfast and things. And they're like, hey, Dad, let me show you this. Or, hey, Dad, can I do this? Or can you help me with this? And I'm like, man, I got to go back to work.
I hate that.
Right. And oh, man, Dad's got a phone call. I'm sorry. I got to go upstairs. So yeah, it tugs at my heart, man, on a daily basis. I'm blessed that I get to see them every day. And I'm blessed that I get to see them in moments throughout the day. And then the weekends, man, I really just try to shut everything off, man, and just focus on them. Right. But it is tough, man, as being a parent and being a business person and being an entrepreneur, like, and pursuing those things. But I think you have to really dedicate that time. And at the end of the day, you have to set boundaries. I'm not going to work past 5 o'clock. I'm turning off the phone calls at 5 o'clock or whatever time it is for you. Like for me, it's 5, but could be whatever time it is for people.
Sure. But
they just have to dedicate that time then to be with their family. Be present. Yeah. Like I know that I've made mistakes where I'm downstairs and I'm trying to be quote unquote present, but my phone keeps buzzing. And I'm like, man, I should just put my phone away. Or, oh man, I got to respond to that Instagram DM. I don't have to do that, but I've made that mistake before. And I have to go apologize to my family. Man, I'm sorry. You know what? I wasn't really present there. I apologize. Yeah. And it just is an open communication with my family that they know that sometimes I'm going to mess up. I mess up a lot, in fact, but I want to go and apologize and say, man, I'm sorry. I should have spent that moment with you. I'm sorry. And it just makes things better when I can have that open communication with my family.
Bro, I messed up big last night, like big. And in fact, Instagram has this new subscribing, feature. So I have one active. Oh, nice. And, so people are buying, it's $4.99. It's cheap, dude, but I'm going to give them like real shit that I wouldn't share on normal. And, I'm putting some out there today about my fuck up last night. And, because I want them to see that, hey, this shit ain't perfect, man. It's messy. It's gross sometimes. And, I held my 6-year-old daughter for 15, 20 minutes, dude, afterward.
Come on.
And it's making me emotional right now thinking about it because you never want to see your children hurt, but dude, I snapped. I snapped, it was like everything built up, dude, built up. Ask you 1,000 times not to do something, the environment here in Southwest Florida with the hurricane, the normal stress, and then bang. And, I went off for like 20 minutes. I wasn't screaming and cussing. I was talking loud and I was letting people know in this house how I felt. Sure. And I felt immediately bad afterwards. But look, man, I know we got to land the plane here. We both have amazing things to do today. This conversation has been incredible. I want to ask you really quickly 2 more questions. Yeah. Don't have to be long answers, but how can my audience best support you?
Man, shares is always good. I love, like, if you follow my content and you like it and it hits home for you, it resonates with you, man, please share it out. Give me a follow. I'm big on Instagram, so I respond to every comment and every DM. So if you and go subscribe to my YouTube. I'm trying to build that up. I've got a little over 500 subscribers on there, but I'd love to hit that 1,000 marker here this year. But subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to my Instagram, and just connect, man. Shoot me a DM. I'd love to connect with people.
I love it, dude. And I can attest he does answer every single comment, every single DM. We both do that to a fault. Yeah. And it is us. It is not a VA. It is us responding. Yep, totally. And, the one thing that I want to point out too, sorry, dude, I can do a Joe Rogan style with you. My last 3 guests, I feel like I've said that because it's been incredible, is, men don't share enough other man's stuff. Like,
Totally.
A lot of people will tell you when you're building a brand, hey, stop sharing other brands. Why?
Yeah.
Like I shared, dude, it's so funny. I don't know if you know this. You shared my reel today at the exact moment I shared yours from last night. And I did not know you shared my shit.
That's awesome.
Straight up.
Yeah.
On my kids, bro. On my life. Did not know. To me, when we share other people's content or the wins, it creates, this amazing flow for us.
Yeah. Because
we are here to serve. We're here to cheer on. I think there's a forgotten art of support in our society. And, I value that you feel that way and you do that yourself. When you sent out that message today, hey, follow my guy. It's like, wow, dude. Wow. Thank you. And it just, like I said, it came at the same time that I supported you. It's so funny. But my next question, and then we can land this amazing jet that we've been on for the last almost 50 minutes.
Come on.
Is how can I best support you, man?
Man, you do support me through shares. You just support me through commenting on my posts, man. I appreciate that. And I love your experience, man. You being in the sales, like I've done sales for 20 years, and I would say I'm a mediocre sales guy. I'm definitely not a pusher sales guy. I am a relationship builder, and I think that's the same that you preach as well. So, man, for me, like I just love to listen to your content and get better at that. I know that I need to get better in closing and get better in how to approach sales, man. So I'm really excited just to learn from you. I know that, we just met in the last few weeks, man, but I'm so stoked to have this friendship and so stoked to learn from your expertise, man. Like I said, I think it's so important to surround yourself with guys that are living the life that you want to live. And man, you're living that life that I want to live, man. You're making a massive impact. And I'm so thankful and grateful that I could be here today to have this conversation, have you on my show, man. You're an absolute stud, man.
Dude, again, all the feelings, bro, all the feelings are mutual. It means a lot to me, and I received that. Thank you. I'm honestly, and my viewers and my listeners may know this about me and you don't know this about me yet, but when I'm at a loss of words, it's very rare, and it's because I'm truly touched by it. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So listen, guys, with that, we're going to land this amazing plane. This has been such an impactful episode, and I hope you guys listened all the way through. If you didn't, shame on you, because this is high-level conversation, and it's real life and authenticity at its finest. So again, I ask you guys, if you like the show, please share it out. If you're not already following the show, hit subscribe, leave a review on Apple or on Spotify, and gosh, guys, leave a comment, engage with both of us because we love to hear from you. And with that being said, guys, I want you to one more favor that I'm going to ask of you today. All right. Do not go to bed tonight without taking action on something. That one thing that you're sitting there right now that you're in your mind that you're like, ooh, he means this. Go make the call. Go fucking do it. And with that being said, guys, I love you all. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.